Hi friends, I'm Smooth, your host. Welcome to the Destination for Innovation series, brought to you by through partnership with the City of Bakersfield and GreenTech Network. Today we're in Las Vegas in RE Plus, and we have a special guest on the show, Kellie Macpherson from Radian Generation. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us. Super excited to be here. It's been a great week, and man, we're really big fans of what you guys have been working on, and just all the years and dedication you've put to building communities across California. So
I really appreciate it, and thanks for that, and it's wonderful to be here with you today. Glad it's a good show. So I'm curious, what some people may not know about you, if you could share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, I am the EVP of Compliance and Risk Management here at Radian Generation. We have assets all across the United States that we're managing the asset management from a financial and technical asset management perspective, compliance, cybersecurity, really, ensuring that these large assets that people spend a lot of money, that they're being taken care of well, and that we're being good stewards of what we have.
So for those who don't know, where could you share that you say your journey began?
Yeah, I have kind of an interesting journey from renewable energy. A lot of people in renewable energy come from the baking background. Our CEO came from the baking side, and financial aspect. A lot of people come in that way, right? I started back in 2001 during the blackouts in California. I was working the operation desk at the California Independent System Operator, and people would call and say, "I got a Honda generator. Can I get on the grid?" And we've come a long way since people wanting to connect onto generators, stabilize part of the grid. But in 2012, I started working in the renewable space because as renewables were getting bigger and bigger, they were needed to have compliance programs. And I think you probably remember people talking about the duck curve and being worried about renewables. And I think some utilities still are worried about renewables. And so that's where, for me personally, the stuff that I work on every day is compliance, and that's making sure that these renewable assets are good neighbors to the grid, that we're protecting reliability. And my passion for that comes from working in the operations desk, watching the curve go, and Super Bowl, and everyone's gonna, at halftime, they're gonna go open the fridge, and we better have some extra megawatts to push onto the grid at that time.
It's really amazing with the rest of the industry and, being an OT, so to speak, in the industry, how much progress there is, or duck curve and power of data, right? So on a day-to-day basis, what does your day
I spend a lot of time talking with developers about how to build a reliable infrastructure, who good partners are for them. I spend a lot of time on operational assets and figuring out how to ensure they're operating reliably. I spent a lot of time over the last few months working on the Odessa disturbance and fixing things that we found that went wrong during the Odessa disturbance. That was a big learning curve for us here in the industry. And so there were a lot of inverter settings that, while they were compliant with the standards and the requirements within the interconnection agreements or with the NERC requirements, they weren't actually operating at an optimal place. And so working through that and trying to figure out how to actually operate these facilities in the best manner to be the best partner on the grid.
Absolutely. So with all your experience, I'm sure you can share a lot of stories, but just curious what, you could point to as sort of struggle that you're seeing, or maybe
I was really lucky early on when I came to renewables. I reported to the general counsel, and she knew that compliance was important, but she didn't know what was important about compliance, but she knew she needed it. And I spent the first 2 years in renewables explaining to people what NERC compliance was and why they needed to actually pay attention, and why it mattered about being a good partner on the grid, and that solar actually affects reliability on the grid. That these are power plants that we're building, and they need to be managed and operated like power plants, and not just these, renewable assets that are sitting here, being developed, that are making great money for folks, but that they're actually a power plant.
Again, with your experience, it was some ways that you would like to share maybe with the GreenTech community?
It's been really great over the years to see the influx of jobs and opportunity as we build it. If you've ever been to a construction site for a renewable site, it's hundreds of people that are putting in, that are contributing to the building, and it doesn't build quickly. It's 1, 2, 3 years, and it can be a significant impact to the community. I remember There's some neighbors that were worried about, dust control on a site, and figuring that out is really important and being a good neighbor. And then on the operations side, once a project hits COD, being a good neighbor, that we have land and we're sharing fence lines with people and ensuring that, we're being respectful as we do that. And it really is a community, is a community process. But for us also is providing this alternative type of energy that's going to help sustain us long term. In California, we have so much legislation around clean energy. And so us figuring out how to work together well as partners is really important. I used to work for an O&M company, and while I was at the O&M company, there was a lady, a next door neighbor, and she just really wanted rose bushes in front of her house to block our ugly gate. And you know what? The rose bushes were really important to her, and it was important to us because that was that relationship with the landowner.
I agree with those rose bushes. Those ladies.
Yeah.
So this next part of this your question is really a thought experiment. It's to think more about their future and what, and to look at roadblocks, right? To imagine what those possibilities are. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is easy. Is what are some low-hanging fruit that people or society fight into to make the world a better place?
I think we don't realize how interconnected we really are. I think through the experience we've had over the last few years and working hybrid, pressing in and actually talking to people and making the effort. That's why being here at RE Plus, getting to see people in person is really important. But the best advice I think that I give people, and probably the only best advice I give, is that solar and the renewable space is a small industry. And I think that's true regardless of solar, right? Like regardless of renewables, the world is much smaller than we think. And being nice and having great relationships with people and being kind and giving people the benefit of the doubt, at the end of the day, that's how we're gonna all be successful in each of our piece of this puzzle.
Absolutely. It really is a small community. It's nice to come here and know somebody, even if we've never met it.
Yeah.
But we're connected on LinkedIn and in other places. They're yours. So I'm curious what you may think about some of the bigger challenges that we should think.
Yeah. I think for us, getting the utilities to understand and respect renewables, but us to be good partners in that is a big challenge. I think we've seen a lot of challenges on the supply chain side of things and working through that. And, when there's a supply chain struggle, that affects everybody's business. It's not just a construction person, but it affects the operations side. It affects our resource planning. There's a trickle-down effect to everybody. And so I think we have we have major growth. I think I was reading a book on my plane out here, and I was thinking about this word hyper-growth. And I think we're in a hyper-growth phase of the industry, and figuring out how to do that well is so important. And the way we do that well is with intention and open conversation about where we're headed and what our values and our goals are, because in the renewable space, for sure, we are so much more aligned in our values and where we want to be headed than I think people really realize.
What role do you see community play?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, we're coming into communities when we're building these power plants, if you'll allow me, because that's what we were coming into communities, and we don't want to be a disruptor. We want to be an additive. We're bringing clean power to people, and that's important. I think it's really interesting. We're starting to see it, like the Apple Sustainability Report came out. I don't know if you saw the video with Mother Nature. It was pretty cool how they're talking about it. We're seeing it infiltrate into our daily lives, and that's really what we need to be looking at, is how we build that community. Whether that's the relationship with the landowners, it's a relationship with education. There's some really great education programs out there. We've benefited greatly from the program coming out of Appalachian State with we had amazing interns come out of there at a previous company that I was at, and they're learning about renewable energy. We have this group of kids that are coming out of college that are excited about clean energy. They're excited about that, and we need to create that community in that space. I'm only able to do what I'm able to do today because I had great mentors and great friends along the way that took the time to teach me. This isn't, a lot of what we do every day is nothing that comes out of a book, but it's something that you have to be taught and mentored into it. So community is the only way, working together, that we're going to continue to build this industry.
Even agree more with that, and I'm kind of curious. You're talking about kids or mentorship, but you're older and you're looking back at the longer efforts. What would you like to see?
For me personally, I work on NERC compliance. Every day is really like is the big portion of my day. I want NERC compliance to not be this like pie in the sky, super hard to understand thing. I want people to understand the grid and reliability and how interconnected we are and how important, the EPC picking up the phone and calling to let them know that, we're testing the transformer today, so you're not going to have the 20 megawatts of test energy. Or that on the other side of it, when we have degradation on modules and we're going to do a module replacement so we can maintain the megawatts that the system is, is depending on, that we've really created that people understand how interconnected it really is.
Yeah, speaking of interconnectedness, we're going to talk about that on public about us, whether it's interconnectedness, the grid, and us as people. As people, I'm curious, if you think a just and equitable energy transition or transferable innovation, so to speak, is possible, and if so, why?
Yeah, and the just and equitable is really important. There's so many elements to that, and I think that's the thing that I don't necessarily think people understand is the life cycle of these power plants that we're building, and from the beginning to the end. We have here at Radian Gen, we have folks in 30 states, and we're spanning that, and we're doing such different work and touching so many different things. If you think about on the financial asset management side, the banks that we're working with, but the people who are sitting across the table are learning about renewable energy. They don't know about this, and there's so much education that's happening. And then we're in these communities and figuring out within the community how to support the community. It's really great when we have the opportunity to come in and actually do something for a school and support them. Yes, we are making, the economics are great for a lot of these, we wouldn't be building them if there wasn't great economics, right? But with that, there's a great responsibility for us to come in and support those communities and to work with people at all the different levels. My favorite thing to do is to get on site and meet the field techs and understand their family. Actually, I'm really lucky. I'm in Reno, Nevada, and I live 10 miles as the crow flies from one of Greenbacker's solar sites, and my neighbor next door is one of the field techs that works at the site and helped build the site. And it's really cool to see, we have this investment to see his kids, and and I work on that site from my computer at home supporting them, right? And I could do my part of the job from anywhere in the United States, but they're there, boots on the ground, and that's the community that's around that facility. And we have to take care of, it's that web, right? It's the Venn diagram. We put all these communities together and all these opportunities. We have great room for great influence and building community there.
Absolutely. Well, it's really important work that you all are doing, and clearly doing a good job being across 30 states and being a part of so many communities and giving back, right, John? So keep up the good work, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate all the hard work that you're doing, so thank you.
And you have a podcast, right?
I do, yes. Navigating the Grid. You can find us on Apple and Spotify. So we, NERC compliance in less than 15 minutes, explain, in a way that you can actually understand. So I hear some people listen to it on 2 times, with their coffee in the morning on a walk, get a little NERC compliance in, but we're explaining difficult topics in a really simple manner, so.
Awesome education opportunity, and I encourage people to connect, collaborate. That's it for the Destination for Innovation today. We'll see you next time.